Hello everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith, and today we're going to be unboxing a game I've been waiting for so long, and in delivery it actually was marked incorrectly in terms of the address, so it ended up going somewhere else and delayed itself by like another week and a half more than I wanted it to. I was really hoping to have this earlier to show you guys, but it doesn't matter because it's finally here. And what I really want to show you today in this video is I want to unbox the game. And this game has been I want to say it's like the token game of what I've been looking for in a board game, I think, for a very long time. I haven't played it yet, but I've watched Serious Poulp's actual video on how to play this. They have an amazing how to play video, so that's something you should check out if you want to learn more about the game. It does reveal some spoilers, but it's at the very beginning of the game, so it's not too much, and I believe it's talking about the first curse. Now, this is a game where it's all about tile exploration, so you're basically flipping cards as you explore the Fog of War style continent, trying to find new things and locations, make use of items you find in different situations. It's really, really cool. I'm not going to go over all of that in this video because this video talks about the unboxing. It's going to tell you what you can find inside of it. But I will let you know that this game is coming back to Kickstarter next week, or this coming week. So that's really exciting. Check that out because if you missed out, this is your chance to jump in. So it's a really timely unboxing, and I'm hoping I can show people what they'll get in the game so that you can actually jump in on this Kickstarter when it goes live next week. So again, just check that on Board Game Geek because it's all over the place in terms of what day, and I'm kind of drawing a blank as to which day it is, but it's in the mid-20s, so we're right in that range almost now. So let's go ahead and crack this open and see what we've got. So again, this is the base box for 7th Continent. It also obviously has some Kickstarter exclusive stuff in there, and I believe even the box has some foliage that makes it a little bit exclusive. These three, and again, all this stuff will be available in the newest upcoming Kickstarter, so that's the really exciting part. This comes in a 3-pack along with 2 of them which were not Kickstarter exclusive, so I can get them later. And then Swamp of Madness is in here. So there's the Forbidden Sanctuary. That one was a normal expansion. Icy Maze was a normal expansion. And the Kickstarter exclusive one is in the middle there at Swamp of Madness. We'll talk a little bit about those in a second. We'll open those up. But let's focus on the base game first. So I want to show you the box first. Now the only way to do that, because it is actually fairly heavy, as you can see, the 7th Continent is actually on the side, and it's got the logo. It has a lot of gloss, as you can see, but there's not much on the back. It really has a Kingdom Death kind of vibe going forward in terms of its box style. It's going for the less is more kind of approach, besides the gigantic logo on the front, of course. But it has tons of weight, and obviously the reason it has tons of weight is because we're talking about an insane amount of cards. And that's something, like, I love card games, and the fact that this game already has that exploration adventure type vibe to it, I've heard so many good things about this game. And of course, I've been following it for a ridiculous amount of time. So I'm really, really happy to be able to unbox this and show this to you guys. So we'll get rid of all this silly plastic. I'm hoping by me flipping it multiple times, it's not going to fall apart. It's a really sturdy box, and it also has a really nice sheen to it on the front. So I don't know if you guys can see this in the video, but it definitely has a really nice shine to it. Really, really cool. So hopefully the lighting is actually working there for you guys. But yeah, it looks really nice. So I'm going to rip this off. We're going to take a look at what's inside. Oh, I'm excited. Okay, let's see here. So what do we have? We've got a little backer note here just saying kind of, if you're reading this, then somehow miraculously, a dream that was born in the head of 2 young kids has finally reached its conclusion. 7th Continent has been decades in the making. Blah, blah, blah. So there's a whole bunch there. I'll let you guys read it. You can obviously pause the screen and read it if you want. But this is something that they'll likely include in the newest Kickstarter when this goes again for reprint. Or maybe they won't, because this is likely for the people or backers that were in on the first run. But again, that's the cool thing about it, timing-wise, guys, is that I'm showing you something you can actually jump in on very soon. So here's the rule book. It's actually surprisingly thin. I've seen them go over it, the company itself. Apparently the rule book leaves a little bit to be explored or to be desired, per se. It's not a bad rule book, but it's not overly great at explaining every circumstance. So in other words, it gives you a general idea of how to play the game, but then you're kind of, because it's one of those games where you're revealing things and moving throughout the game, and because not a lot of it's shown up front, you kind of you might run into situations that the rulebook doesn't fully explain. So the really cool thing about Board Game Geek is that you've got a whole bunch of people there covering that angle. And if you have questions, I believe there's a lot of people on there that know their stuff at this point and can really help you out. There's also other videos out there to watch if you're confused. But again, those videos are tough to say because being that this is an adventure game where you'll run into situations that your friends or other people won't, you may not run into those kind of quirks that somebody else finds. You might find your own set of quirks. So it's cool in that respect that everyone's going to have a different journey. But I think the end result of getting the curse off of you and finding that curse and following the end path will be the same, but how you get there is going to vary very differently across multiple plays and also multiple people. So that's really cool. But again, I'm not saying the rulebook is bad. I've just heard personally myself that the rulebook has some missteps, so it doesn't clearly show everything. But you know what? We've got the whole setup in here and stuff, so I'll be going through. This is a showcase that I'll absolutely be doing for the 7 continents, so we're going to do a full setup video for this after this unboxing, as well as a rules overview. I'll do my best to cover high-level rules and stuff like that. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to kind of bring this up a little closer so you guys can actually see a little bit more about the rulebook itself. So there's the table of contents in terms of what is included. It's got the objective of the game, which is the most important thing probably. So you have been cursed, and to win the game, players must lift each and every curse that they choose at the beginning of the game. Do not worry, the game will clearly let you know when this happens. So you can have multiple curses if you really want to have a challenge, but typically you go after one at a time. It's going to show you terrain cards, permanent events, temporary events. You've got items, items at the top there, quest items, states. In other words, you could be tired, injured, all that kind of stuff. Bonuses. There's all kinds of different cards. This game is littered with them, and they're all in the square format, so you're likely not to have sleeves if you're one of those people who love to sleeve things that'll fit this, so you may be running around trying to find sleeves for it. I don't think I'll sleeve this, although I may try to find a 50 pack of sleeves or maybe a 100 pack that can sleeve the cards in my hands. That's probably all I'll do. I'm not going to sleeve the actual continent itself. I think that would be outrageously massive. So you got satchels, journals, clue cards, all kinds of great stuff. Again, I want to show you this stuff because I'm not going to actually crack open the packs of cards in this because, again, spoilers. I'm just going to end up showing you too much of what I don't want to show you. So this stuff's okay to show you because this is really the very, very, very beginning of the game and the first curse. So that's the kind of setup you'll have. 2 miniatures sitting on an island. You got Fog of War up top to the north, and you've got Fog of War to the west. So it's kind of like you're exploring off in these different areas. To the east there's a gigantic cliff that you can go up. It's very cool that way. So again, huge setup talk right there, which again, I'll go through all of that when we actually do the setup video for solo. Turn sequences. So it's all here. I'm not saying the rulebook is bad because I actually haven't fully read it. I've read it through a digital means, but that's about it. And then of course it goes into a different language for the last bit. So I think where there's some confusion with people thinking it's a bad rulebook, or the reason why I'm even mentioning that it could be a bad rulebook, is there's the translation issue. So it came over from it came over into the English language, and I think some things were lost in translation, which has caused a little bit of confusion. But again, remember, Board Game Geek is your friend, as well as YouTube, for finding all kinds of videos and explanations on rules. So here's some tokens. So if you didn't get the miniatures and things like that, you can use these. So because I have the Kickstarter exclusive edition, I'm able to actually have legitimate miniatures for this, but you can also use standees or tokens to show your person on the map. The really cool thing is they've got these really hard cardboard reference sheets for all of your actions. Look at this. They've got move and stealthy fight, tons of different actions that you can do in this continent, as well as references for your action consequences. You've got yourself resources, and if you flip it over, it even gives you the full turn sequence, the action icons, and this is something I love because this allows me to put the rulebook beside me, and I can just reference it when I need to and not just because. So this is something that if a game has in it, no matter how poor the rulebook is, I automatically have the utmost respect for the company who built the game because I love these things. They're so handy. And typically when a game doesn't have one, I end up going to Board Game Geek in order to find something like it because they're so handy to just hand to a new player to say, here you go. If you don't know the rules, I'll explain it to you, but this will be your handy guide to help us get you through the game. So what we've got here, which obviously one side punched out, was you've got yourself a discard pile tray. So you build this essentially. These will sit in here like this and stuff like that, and that's the bottom of the tray. This is the back of the tray. Obviously it's been knocked out, and your discard pile and its rules are right there. So I'm not going to build this on camera, but you'll see it during the playthrough. And then you're going to see a massive pile of cards. And of course, some things have shifted around during shipping, but they have extremely well done inserts. So what you're seeing here is some really small black dice. So you can use these for sure, or if you have better dice at home, you can swap them out. You've also got yourself some standees. So again, those go back to the tokens that were sitting right here if you're going to use them. And then of course, you've got a ton of cards, an outrageous amount. Oh man, it's gonna be fun to organize. The one thing I think that they did really well on, if I'm not mistaken, is I think everything's in order, and I think that's something that everyone that got this game extremely appreciated, the fact that they did not put us through the pain and punishment of trying to organize these. So like from right here, it starts at 101. And then right after this deck, it goes to 1017. So that may seem really odd because it looks like there's a ton of cards in each of these decks. And again, I'm not going to rip into these because I don't want to spoil anything. You might be wondering, well, those look massively thick. They are. And the reason why there's, it goes from 1 to 17 with that many cards is because there are multiple of those cards in this deck. Some of them are going to be typically green is what you're going for first. And then there's alternate paths and alternate routes that can happen with the gold version. So there's multiple of one, maybe in some cases. That's why the numbering doesn't make sense based on the thickness of the cards. There could be from in here, obviously, from 1 to 16, there's a whole bunch of variations as to how that can play out during the gameplay, meaning your replayability goes way up. So again, you've got, there's 17 starting there. This one here actually starts at 50. But again, the reason I'm even showing you this is the cool factor that you don't have to organize this stuff. You can literally rip these packs open, lay them in the trays, and then what's really awesome is they went all the way to the point of actually giving you full-on dividers for these cards, so you can actually divide these things up. So these are going to be legitimate dividers, which you can put into the card rows in order to break them up. I think per 50, obviously it looks like, so 400, 450, 500. You've got save areas, advanced skills, the past, a bunch of gameplay mechanic type stuff. So that's really cool. And then I'll bring this one out because there's nothing else in it. They've also been extremely smart in actually putting an inlaid 3-tiered kind of shelf little unit for each of the 3 cards. So you actually have a 7th continent. This is where you're going to start unpacking cards and laying them in here along with these card dividers, which is like everyone's dream, because I don't know how many card games there are in the hobby where you open up a whole bunch of cards, especially things like Lord of the Rings, the card game, or LCG and Arkham Horror, these games, you lay them out and you go, where am I going to store these? I need a box, I need a tray. This just solves that problem for you. And when you want to play the game, you just pull this out of the box, you drop it right beside it, and you're ready to go. Like, it's incredible. Regardless of the fact that I have to do a quick organization at the beginning, it'll always be ready for me. And I really appreciate them going that extra step on the box inserts. So the cool thing is that's not the only insert. There's actually 3 of them. So they'll hold all of the cards involved, which is pretty awesome. So again, I'm not going to go through all the packs, but just to show you, there are 3 inside this box. Now there's one other thing you're probably not seeing, and that's right here. This is the miniature. So these are going to be, and I believe these are Kickstarter exclusive miniatures, but again, remember, when this goes to Kickstarter, this package will be available again, so you won't miss out on this stuff. They should be, if I'm not mistaken, also allowing people to pick up all of the Kickstarter stuff that was in the first run, essentially. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of people that appreciate that. Sorry, first, I just got to try to get the tape off this. Sometimes that's difficult. All right, these guys are actually really small, but it makes sense because the cards are tiny. So essentially what you have here is there are 4, and I'll see if I can get this to focus. There are 4 little fireplaces. So that's really hard to see, but you can paint those probably really easily. So they're literally in my hand. They're tiny, but it makes sense because of the size of the card. You'll be placing like a little fire pit kind of on the ground when you make a campfire, which from what I understand, actually I don't understand what they're for, but I'm imagining they're for either a safe point or potentially to heal you, to rest, that type of thing. But if you can picture the card itself, let me try to find one with an actual place on it. Although I don't really want to show you guys anything, so that'll spoil something. So this is generic enough it's generic enough in terms of distance, but if this was a tile you were on per se, you know, you'd have your fire there, right? So that could be one place that you're venturing and your campfire's there, you got your trees in the corner and stuff. So it's just a place to note that, you know, when you come back to that place, something's gonna happen. So they've included, and of course there's tokens for the fire, like I mentioned before, right here. So, you know, they've obviously with the Kickstarter one included the miniatures, which is super cool. Then the other thing that's really awesome is they included actual people for all the different individuals that you can play in the game. So you've got yourself these little guys. Some of them are, like this one is a lady. It looks like she's got a shovel or a pike or a spear of some type. So again, they represent all the different heroes that you can play in the game. And I think they even have H.P. Lovecraft in this thing, which is awesome. So I'm going to probably, in the playthrough we do for the showcase on Rolling Solo here, I'm going to likely be playing H.P. Lovecraft because I'm a huge fan of his stuff. I'm a massive fan of Arkham Horror, Eldritch Horror, Mansions of Madness, all that stuff. So I think I'm going to probably end up being him for this particular campaign. And that, I believe he was a Kickstarter addition to the game, was to add his character in. And who knows, with this new addition or new Kickstarter that they're coming out with in the next week or so, it could add more individuals as heroes, it could add more cards. There's going to be, apparently, for the individuals that already have this stuff and have gone, oh, I've already opened this and played it, there's going to be a whole bunch of new content apparently that's being added in. So that's really exciting. But again, I'm really sorry that I can't tear into these cards. I'm doing it really because I don't want to be that guy that rips into these packs of cards and shows you things that you shouldn't see, because this game is all about exploration and you're supposed to find this stuff yourself. Now, the one thing I will talk about real quick is these 3 packs, and again, we'll do the exact same kind of generic openings. So I'm just going to move these off to the side for a second. I'm going to cut into these so I can show you the individual packaging for these 3. So I didn't get all 6, but I believe, and I could be mistaken, maybe they're coming separately because I thought I actually did get the additionals, but there were 6, I think, total expansions that you could potentially get in the last Kickstarter, and this is part of the Explorer pledge, but I believe I actually picked up the other ones as well, so I'm kind of in contact with a company to make sure that the other ones are on their way. But there was also kind of a fumble in the shipping, so it's possible they got sent elsewhere or something weird happened. But regardless, this one's called the Icy Maze. I keep saying the Icy Maze. The Icy Maze, and this one looks like you're on a raft heading down kind of a very glacier water-filled, shark-infested waters with a spear. 7th continent, so it's going to have a bunch of new stuff. It says explore lands no other explorer has yet set foot. Is this cold, brutal land inhabited, and if so, by what? So there's a bunch of stuff there. This is an expansion, contains 96 new cards, 1 new curse. So again, curses. Now, I don't remember exactly how many are in the base box, so I do apologize for that because, again, I haven't played this myself yet. But you can check that out, and I will talk about that 100% in this solo setup. I'll cover all that kind of stuff. This is really just me unboxing it, so I'm not going to know too much just yet until I dive into it. But again, a whole bunch of new cards, and there's your Icy Maze clue. There's a curse in here as well. So there's 2 decks of cards, 2 more to add to the pile. There's also instructions on how to add these into the game. So they'll tell you, like, you know, can you add this into the current one that current curse you're working on? But I believe you can also mix curses and have multiple curses going on at once, which is kind of crazy. I don't know if anyone would really want that, but if you want a challenge, maybe you've beaten the game. The other thing that's incredible to know is they have apparently, this game has over, I don't know how many hours they actually said. I've heard so many different things in terms of hours to beat this thing. It's massive. So I'm not sure exactly how many hours, but I think they said 1, at least on Board Game Geek, if I remember correctly, it said 1 to 1,000 minutes per game. 1 to 1,000. So I'm assuming like the later curses are extremely long, or some of the sessions can just be massive. Like the amount of exploration you need to do on the continent is huge, whereas some of them are much smaller. Obviously, the first curse, which most people, I believe, have been covering, because for fear of spoilers, that one's the smallest, but it's still, even in small terms, I think it still takes hours. I think I've heard people say it takes upwards of 2 to 3 to 4 hours just to even get to a point where they think they're going to win, and then most times they're dying. So it's like, holy, like this game is not something that to be taken lightly. It has some serious weight to it in terms of content, so you're not going to be missing out there. So this is the other one, Forbidden Sanctuary. So again, this one looks pretty happy. This one says, those who built this temple made sure that no one would come and disturb their precious treasure. You will need to learn some of its secrets before setting foot inside. Otherwise, each step could be your last. And then again, same thing. New curse, 96 new cards. Can't be played without the 7th Continent base game. I'm not going to bother opening it up because really it's just 2 more packs of cards and I don't want to spoil anything. Swamp of Madness, this was the Kickstarter exclusive one, and this one I can't speak to as to whether or not this will be part of the next upcoming Kickstarter or not, in order for people that missed it to be able to pick it up. But this was the exclusive. So exclusive in terms of expansions. There was also exclusives in terms of like minis and small and extra cards added into the base game. But this was the big deal expansion kind of extra. So we'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if they reprint it because it's coming back to Kickstarter. But we'll see. But I'll let you see the back of this as well. It says the savages call it, I can't even say that, a Hemdar. A Hemdar. They speak its name with fear, and it is seen as a bad omen. You have been warned. You are an inconsequential speck of nothing to the dreaded Emdar. So I don't know. Emdar being, I'm assuming, this gigantic monster here over the forest. But again, same thing. 1 curse, 96 new cards, and all the same kind of gibberish. And again, I'm not going to open that up. There's rules inside of each of these. So the other really cool thing is, I'll mention, I don't have them here, is that I thought I got them. So again, I'm following up with the company currently, but there was one that had a basis in weather, so you could have like weather effects in the game, and they came with little standees that were kind of like this, but think of kind of like X-Wing, where they have the plastic stand coming up with, and then it has like a little token, almost like these tokens, that sits on top of that standee, and it's like a lightning storm or a hurricane or rain or sunshine or clear skies or whatever. So the cool thing about that is it just changes the weather on certain tiles, I'm assuming, or certain cards. I'm assuming it'll make certain areas easier to explore, maybe give you a bonus if it's clear. Maybe if it's raining, it gives you, you need more stars because it's tougher, whatever. It's just really cool, and I thought that was thematic. And again, this is a hugely thematic game. So if you're like me and you really enjoy a good story, as well as a good story progression, character progression in this one is actually not, I don't think character progression really counts in this, because you're not really leveling up your character, but you are collecting, gathering resources and using those resources in creative ways to solve problems, puzzles, situations, all that kind of stuff. So it's very cool. It's a very cool game, at least from the outset in terms of what I've seen on video from the company. But I cannot wait to personally dive into this to actually find out if it's a good game, like if I actually enjoy it. Whereas I only hear amazing things around me, so it's hard for me not to have a bias, because everyone's like, this is an amazing game, you should buy it. Well, I already have it, so it just finally arrived. So anyway, I hope you guys are enjoying this. If you're excited about this game as I am, give me a thumbs up. Let me know that you want to see the 7th Continent in action. We'll follow this video up with a solo setup video, which will explain a little bit more about the game itself and how it's set up if you're playing solo. And then it's going to follow up with a rules overview at a very high level to let you know what you should know before we actually get into the gameplay. Essentially, it bridges the gap. And then we'll go into the showcase of the playthrough series, where we actually play through 7th Continent. And of course, we likely won't play through the entire thing. We'll probably find a certain point where I'm going to have to stop, because again, I don't want to be that person to spoil the game for everyone, but I also want to show you kind of how mechanically it moves and it works, so that you see whether or not it's something that you're interested in, and it's going to help you decide whether you would like to back Kickstarter. So anyway, until next time, guys, keep on rolling solo.